Well, everybody, the playoffs are here, and we are ready to go back to the bullpen. We're ready to see our old friend AJ Hinch, the red hot Detroit Tigers. I'm here with World Series champion Mike Stanton to talk about it. Let's go.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk it back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome into Back to the Bullpen. This is our first ever postseason edition of Back to the Bullpen. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. You know where to find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on all your socials. You know where to find the show. But, Mike, where can everybody find you?
The only place you can get me is on X, and that is Mike Stanton 29. Yeah, I'm not on all the other ones, but X is the only place.
X is the spot where you find like the treasure, everything, right?
I see what you did there. Look at you being all zany.
Well, trying to look, it's postseason and I'm trying to level it up. This has been a relentless.
Wait, hold on. No, level up was last year.
Oh, dang it. See, I was trying.
This year's relentless. This year, I see. Yeah, you actually used relentless. I see what you did.
Yeah,
okay.
You
got to keep up. I got to keep up.
You've been waiting all day to pounce, haven't you?
You threw that one right by me.
I did. I threw gas, man. I was throwing a hundo right there. Throwing a hundo at the spin rate of like 5,800 RPM. Anyways, yeah, it's a lot. So see, even hey, I too can speak pitcher if I'm forced to. But hey, this has been one relentless season, Mike. This has been a season to where we've kind of mentioned this that are the Astros even going to make the playoffs? Are they done? Is the run over? I mean, and if I would have told you that the Astros were going to go through all the injuries that they did, but yet going into the playoffs, they have by MLB networks, by their own admission, the Astros have one of the deepest rotations in the entire playoff field.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought that?
Well, I mean, you go back to spring training, and if you would have said that the Astros, when you come to September, had the rotation that they have right now, you'd have said that they're probably a losing team, that they are not coming anywhere close. They're just playing out the string in September, and that just simply has not been the case. I mean, Arrighetti has been outstanding. He, especially from the start that he had, you have to talk about Hunter Brown in the same talk. I mean, if you remember, you go all the way back to the beginning of the season, we had people asking us if they should send him down, if this was a situation that he just not, last year was an aberration. He's just not ready. He's turned around to be one of the best right-handers in all of baseball, especially in the second half. Where would this Astros team without Ronel Blanco and with Ronel, if Justin Verlander were healthy, he would have never started a game. He was forced into the rotation, and he was the MVP for the first half. I don't think there's any doubt, especially if you look at a pitcher to win that award. So, I mean, you just go back and Framber has been, when he had a good season last year, didn't have a great season.
Right.
And you've seen Framber seemingly take another step forward in his career to being, one of the premier left-handers in the sport. So actually, I'm going to give him a premier starter in the sport, not just left-hander. So it's been a remarkable season. I think this is the sweetest of all in the run, just simply because of all the issues that they had during the regular season, everything that they had to go through, all the injuries, the lack of performance, because, it wasn't just injuries. Right. They were hitting the ball very well early in the season, except with runners in scoring position. They could do nothing with runners in scoring position. So the bullpen didn't get off to the good start. We were supposed to have the three-headed monster at the back end of the bullpen.
Very
That didn't work out at all for about the first month. But then everybody just slowly righted the ship. And the crazy thing is they got themselves back in the race and being relevant in 3 weeks. I mean, we were figured, you know what, gosh, this is going to take. We've seen so many teams have issues like this. It's going to take months for them to dig out of this hole. Well, they made a liar out of us because they got out in 3 weeks. Since then, they've played very good baseball, but it was really they were like 19-3 or something crazy like that, and that's what put them back on the map.
Yeah, I mean, to start out 12-24. I mean, break
12 games under twice.
12 games under twice.
Yeah.
Ram Shirts has a new shirt, and it says Astros are inevitable. And, kind of from the old adage I'll say old adage, actually more like a new adage from the Avengers Endgame,
Yeah, right.
The whole Thanos line. But I mean, the Astros have proven that they are. And I love that you mentioned Ronel Blanco, because sometimes in sport or in life, it's the people that shine the most are the people that don't have the most fanfare, that don't have the most pop. Like, they're not the guy, Not everybody can be a Paul Skeens. There's only one.
Sure. There's only one of those dudes.
And, even Hunter Brown, when he was in the system, I remember how they were just like, man, he's got gas and he can throw gas off the mound, but he can't find that strike zone. He can't locate his curveball. He was having a hard time. And now it seems like the harder he throws, he's upset at a mistake he made, and he just locks in.
It's all about his confidence.
Right.
If you remember, he had lost some weight in the offseason. He came into spring training at a lighter weight. He was messing around with his slider. He wanted to take some speed off of it. And he just got off to a bad start. I mean, it happens, but the thing is, you can't even really say it was a start. It was like 7 starts. It was mid-May.
Oh,
he had an ERA just south of 10. Absolutely. And for him to have an ERA now south of 3.5 is just incredible. I mean, it just shows the consistency he had to have, start in and start out, not for a month, for 3.5, 4 months. Just so good all year long, and it was just such a pleasure to watch him turn things around, because there's not very many guys that did that were as bad as he was for as long as he was. You just don't really turn it around. And actually, it was a start. I think when that's a start, it was a relief appearance against the Tigers, if I remember, which was the start of him turning it all around. That he got back,
I remember that.
It was a non-pressure situation. Joe Espada and Josh Miller, you got to tip your cap to them, because what did they do? They sent him out there and said, dude, figure it out. Just go out there and be you. There's no pressure here. I'm not taking you out. You just figure out what you need to do. And he did just that. And from that relief appearance, dude was on a roll.
Exactly. I love what Michael says here. He says the Tigers podcast seems pretty confident. Let's stop biting our nails and be the aggressor against the Tigers. The Astros are the Tiger tamer. I like that.
Sure.
One of the things we have going into this wild card series, and we'll get to the AJ Hinch and Joe Espada thing later at the end of the show. Mm-hmm. But you have a Tigers team that comes in, young, fiery. They have, I think they're 37-18 in their last 45 games, and the Astros are like, they're whatever, and they're like 26-27 and 19, or there's basically 4 or 5 games difference better for the Tigers. And so you have 2 teams that are coming in extremely hot.
Right.
And you have Skubal coming in, and I want to get into the matchup here against Framber. Framber is a seasoned veteran, a grizzled veteran, I would say, in the playoffs. World Series clinching game 6, just bear it down. this guy has the ability to go out and start no-hitters in the playoffs and, throw no-hitters in the regular season. Skubal is a Cy Young candidate, but no playoff.
I don't know if you can just call him a candidate.
Well, okay.
He's going to be the 2024 Cy Young Award.
Eric Skubal, you're right, is going to win the Cy Young.
Congratulations on an incredible regular season. Let's see what happens in playoffs.
Exactly. So my question to you is, as he prepares for this game, the last time he pitched at Minute Maid Park, he left in 6 innings, gave up 4 runs, took the loss. The Astros actually hit him pretty well.
Yeah.
They also hit the bullpen that game pretty well. So does Skubal simply look at that last start and say, okay, how did they match me? How did they get me? Or is it like, no, we're just looking at all the latest game film, these last 10, 15 games, how they're swinging? How does he prep coming back into Houston where he has that loss?
I think there may be a slight conversation about, looking back at what happened in that game, but probably not much because that was a long time ago.
True.
And he had thrown many games since then and thrown the ball exceptionally well. So what he's going to do, Skubal's got him and Framber both. They have such great stuff that these guys actually are going to pitch more like relievers pitch. And what I mean by that is they're not going to go out there trying to establish something. They're not going to say, well, I'm going to work on, I'm going to throw a couple more changeups or I'm going to do this. No, they're going to be like we just heard from Michael, they're going to be the aggressors.
Right.
Skubal's going to throw a bunch of fastballs. Dude's got a great fastball and it is very difficult to hit. He's going to attack with that. Same with Framber and his sinking fastball and his curveball. I mean, they're going to attack. It's not going to be any. There's not going to be any. There's not going to be any secrets. There's not going to be. You're not going to surprise anybody with what's going to go on. These are 2 of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, and they're going to be going head to head.
Exactly, and Framber Valdez, he's a guy too that I even remember saying going into this year, have we gotten the best out of Framber? Can he be better than he's been?
Yeah. And
he really, compared to last year, has been better. And he's been more consistent. He had the one game that we always talk about, we call it the Rogue game, sponsored by Nissan Rogue, I guess, or whatever. But he went rogue. And what was funny about that game, Mike, is to me that showed a level of maturity on Framber's part, because not only was it said by Yainer Diaz, but Framber also admitted it. And it was like he knew that everybody knew, and he even knew himself, that he had probably done the thing that was probably not the best idea. Right. And if your starting pitcher has that kind of acumen, that kind of mental fortitude to look at himself, and then from that point forward improve, he is a dangerous weapon on the mound, no matter who we're facing.
Well, it really just shows his maturity, because Framber, and we've even seen it some this year, early in the season. Framber can get frustrated. He pitches with a lot of emotion, even though we don't see it all the time. It's not just dripping from him. But we know when he gets angry. He snaps at the ball when he's catching the ball after he walks a guy, or you kind of see him take a deep breath and he'll close his eyes and he's trying to get back under control. But I think that he has done a remarkable job this year of taking that even to the next level, that even on days that he doesn't have his best stuff, he's still able to go out and dominate. Because we've seen him go out and strike everybody out and pitch really well. And then we've also seen him pitch really well when he didn't have any strikeouts. But really, the second half of the season, the curveball has been just remarkable. It's been an incredible pitch, possibly one of the best single off-speed pitches in all of baseball, whether it's batting average against, swing and miss rate, whatever you want to look at, whatever metrics you want to look at. It's been that good. And when he's got location with that pitch, it really makes everything else better. He almost pitches backwards because the curveball is so good. Hitters have to really almost look for the pitch. Well, that makes the fastball that much better. It makes the changeup that much better. So, it's a very unique arsenal that he has. And the way he's been throwing the curveball, we're going to see a lot of it on Tuesday.
Exactly. We are going to see a lot of it. And I want to ask you about that, because I know sometimes, and I find myself doing it less and less, I guess, because of the amount of ball that I watch, and watch it a lot more with the fine tooth comb than I used to just as a casual observer, because, I want to be able to talk about this stuff on the podcast.
Right.
But most people watching, let's just say we're just watching a baseball game, Kyle Tucker's up there, or, Jose Altuve, guys that can hit, and they go down looking.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, they've got 2-2 count, and they go down looking, third strike, and it's right down the middle. And what do you hear everybody say? That was right down the middle. Why did you
hit that? Yeah.
Like what goes into that? Because I know there's a baseball explanation. It's not just simply they just don't want to hit. I mean, they're clearly looking for something else.
Right. Well, they all look at data. Okay.
Right.
I mean, everyone would be shocked. And I actually, tell you the truth, I would probably even be shocked. And I have a good idea of what they get at the amount of information that is sent down to the players. Now, one of the things the coaches have to do, whether it's the pitching coaches for the pitchers or the hitting coaches for the hitters, is they have to sift through it and figure out, what do they want to offer to the players? Because every player is different.
Right.
Jose Altuve doesn't necessarily want to know every situation, because he's an instinctual, just, see ball, hit ball type of hitter. Whereas you have a guy like Bregman, he may want to know a lot more information.
Right.
He wants to know the tendencies. And in a situation that you were just talking about, what happens is the data probably says 85% of the time he throws a breaking ball right here. Well, that was one of those 15% that he didn't. And you take a fastball right down the middle and you kind of look silly for it. But it's just one of those things that happens, that there's no such thing as 100%. There's no such thing as every time,
because
someone does this. Yeah.
It looks so much easier to watch it on TV and go,
oh, of course.
You not see that, because you're not right there.
Right. Right.
And I mean, honestly, because there's very few major league players in the history of just the world. If you didn't experience baseball at that level, it's hard to relate to that. Now, speaking of taking pitches, hitting the ball, the man who I think is probably the most intimidating being on the planet when he steps in a batter's box, Yordan Alvarez. Yordan Alvarez, when he's healthy, he is probably the most feared hitter in all of baseball. He's supposed to be taking BP Monday.
Yep.
Do you see a scenario where the Astros put him on the roster for the wild card series if he can only DH? If tomorrow he's pain free, maybe he sees if he can jog on that knee. I don't think he plays in the field. I don't know if he plays in the field at all this postseason. I think he could be relegated. Do you think there's a chance for him to be on the wild card roster?
He wouldn't be taking BP if there wasn't a chance.
Okay.
I mean, you just wouldn't, if that knee is not at least doing quite a bit better, then there's just no reason to risk it.
Right.
So is there a chance? Absolutely, there's a chance. So hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully that will be the case. As far as DHing, I don't think he plays anywhere other than DH. I mean, maybe when you get into the later rounds, I would be shocked if we see him in the field. Oh my gosh, not before the LCS, but maybe even the World Series. But I agree with you. I don't think that. I think that he's going to be relegated to the DH spot, and that makes things a little bit tougher on Joe Espada, because now you have, if Yordan's just going to DH, then you're going to have to mix and match all the way around across the field. So we'll have to wait and see. But the Astros need him, because it is even if he's not 100%. Yordan changes the landscape of the whole lineup. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He has an effect on every pitch that's thrown, 2 or 3 batters prior to him and probably 2 batters after him in the lineup. So that's going to be something fascinating that we're going to have to see how it works out tomorrow, and see exactly what they come up with, right before game time when they have to submit their rosters.
Exactly. And, Chris starts talking about this, and we'll kind of dovetail this into our discussion about the roster. He's like, so Hayward would be in left in his mind when there's a righty on the mound, and then Dubon would be in left when there's a lefty on the mound. I think he's talking about defensively, a righty's probably going to hit more to left field, pull side power. The Tigers, don't they have some lefties in there? I can't remember how heavy they are. They have a few more left-handers than I think the average team does. But going into this, if I were to look at position players right now, I've got 3 catchers. I got 5 infielders, 5 outfielders. If Yordan Alvarez is in there as DH, does that affect the 3 catchers thing?
I don't know. That it's a tough one. I mean, for a 3-game series in the Wild, for this first series, I think that the emergency catcher, if all the catchers got hurt, I think the emergency catcher is Mauricio Dubon.
Right. True.
I don't know how much he's done that, but I think that he is, he's the guy that you would put back there. The problem that the Astros have, and we've seen this over the last week or so, they've been using both Caratini, they've been using and Yiner in the lineup. Now you do that. Now you have to. You don't have an emergency catcher. Now you need actually a backup catcher.
Right.
So it's going to be one of those things that's going to be fluid until you figure out what Yordan can or can't do. But to me, that would probably be the move, that you go to 2 catchers. You could reduce, one of the, because you got plenty of infielders. I mean, so flip a coin. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Everybody just be very happy that Yordan takes a roster spot and would be in a lineup.
Exactly. I think that's 100% true. And I love, the more I think about it, I really love Jason Hayward being on this team with his, and he's had some key moments already for this team.
Sure.
And Mike, he's got a good arm from the outfield.
Oh, he's a Gold Glove outfielder.
Yeah.
And always has been. I mean, that, to tell you the truth, even you go all the way back to his Atlanta days when he was a really good offensive player. I still think he was a better defensive player. I mean, he's a Gold Glove, even in his mid-30s. I think he's still a Gold Glove caliber outfielder. Mostly in right field in his career, but he is playing left. And whether it's he's in left, Dubon who is in right, whatever the situation is, I think you're fine defensively, because Dubon is at least above average. Defensively, and same thing, Hayward is outstanding, even though you probably put him in left because you're going to keep Tucker in right.
No, exactly. And you and I were talking, there are actually some guys that are on the IL that are starting to throw. Yeah. And you have some guys that could probably surprise us. Taylor Scott was actually in the outfield. Taylor Scott was in the outfield throwing today. I don't know that he would be ready, but Penn Murphy, Luis Garcia. I mean, these are names.
Yeah.
Kendall Graveman, I believe. We haven't heard anything about him, but there it's like there's been whispers here or there. Right. You notice Graveman's been in the dugout the entire time, the last month or so. So the Astros could pull a rabbit out of the hat with something like that.
Possibly. I mean, you'll have to wait and see. I mean, the one we've been talking about, Taylor Scott, for the last couple of weeks, that when he went down, that he should be back for the playoffs, and he has had an incredible season, and he could be a real usable piece, right, in that bullpen with that little bit of the funky arm slot and the ball coming in at an awkward angle. That's why he's had, because you're not talking about a big time power fastball, but there's just enough deception in that windup and in that delivery that hitters just don't pick him up when he's coming in, and he's able to throw strikes with it. So that would be the one that I would look at and say, okay, keep your closest eye on it, because Luis Garcia, you just don't know what you're going to get.
It's like it's been too long to throw him into a playoff.
Well, and there's no minor league baseball going on anymore. So, you could send him down to Florida, and maybe they do that. Maybe they go ahead and push it forward a little bit more and just see where he's at. But I mean, that's a tall task to say, okay, you haven't pitched in a year and a half, but we're going to throw you into the playoffs.
There you go. So I have in my wild card 13-man pitching arsenal: Framber, Hunter, Yusei, Spencer, Ronell, Hector, Ryan, Abreu, Hader, obviously. Then it's in the bottom where we're like, Ort, King, Ferguson, and Dubin. Those are the guys that round out the bottom of this list.
Yeah.
See, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yeah, there's 14 there.
Okay.
It's who do you take off? Who do you do you bring in? Do you bring in Dubin? Do you leave off Ferguson? Where are you going? If Mike's given a pen to fill in the lineup, who's the guy that you think stays off?
Stays off? That's a tough question because it has a lot has to do with the matchups on the other side. And that's what they're going to look at. Ferguson, we know he's got the big stuff. He can be devastating on left-handers, but can you trust him to throw fast? Can you trust him to throw strikes? Dubin is a guy that, another one, at times has swing and miss stuff. I think Ort is in. He's pitched some leverage innings over the last month. He's got a big fastball, and you gotta love the fact that he just comes right after the hitters. But the thing is, other than Ort, I mean, you look at these guys, and are they really going to be guys that are going to face big hitters in leverage situations? Probably not. So. Yeah, you have to fill out the pitching staff, and you never know. You never know if somebody's going to be, have a, come in the fourth or fifth inning and give you 2 2/3 of really good baseball. That could be someone like Dubin. So we'll have to wait and see. There's going to be a lot of discussions over the next day or so going into Tuesday. So they're going to look at every scenario, but it's not just how the pitcher is throwing at any particular time. It is a lot of it has to do with the matchups, and you may keep somebody on the roster for one at bat. I need Ferguson to face this Tiger hitter in this situation. And it could come down to that because the Tigers have been very good recently, even though they did lose to the Chicago White Sox. And that was only the Chicago White at home.
I saw that.
That was only the White Sox second road winning series of the season. So as great as their second half has been and their run has been, I don't want to say they're coming limping in because any major league team can be another major league team, but still, that's the White Sox.
Yeah, well, Skubal, I believe, was scheduled to start, and they took him off. Obviously, they want him starting.
Makes sense.
AJ Hinch, this is not his first rodeo, and we'll get to him and Espada next. I was just looking to see. It says they can have a maximum of 13, but I don't know that you have to carry 13. I thought there was a new.
You don't have to carry 13,
right?
You can carry 12, but you can't carry 14 pitchers.
Okay, but can you carry? Because someone in here was like, "Well, we only need 11." Can you carry 11 pitchers? Don't you? I don't.
You can, but that is the one position on the field that is the most volatile.
True.
And, especially in 3-game series, as great as it is to be playing this series up front and not having just the 1-game playoff, the 1-game wild card setting, it's still 3 games go very, very fast.
They do.
You're gonna, one of the things you're looking to do, especially early in the series, is you're going to go for the jugular if you're winning. But you're going to want to save the bullpen for game 2 and game 3 if you can. So that's where some of those other pitchers, nobody's going to go with 12, even 12, much less 11. Everybody's going to have 13 pitchers.
Exactly. So we have a matchup where now I mentioned this on my other show because I saw John Morosi tweeted it out.
You have another show?
Yeah.
Are you cheating on me?
Hey, Mike. No, it's different. This is a different symbiotic relationship. But I just wanted to use the word symbiotic. Anyways,
word of the day was on the toilet paper. Was that the word of the day on the toilet paper?
Reader's Digest. No, I don't read those. But what's funny is John Morosi brought this up, and I didn't know this. This is the first time in the history of professional sports that a Houston team has played a Detroit team in a playoff series. The first time
really
ever.
Any sport.
Any sport, football, baseball, basketball. We know we don't have an NHL team, so we didn't play the Red Wings. But yeah, we've never played. Well, we
it wasn't football because the Lions, for the longest time,
they were retired.
Whew,
You're right.
They had some tough teams.
They did. But yeah, isn't that crazy? I mean, when you think about it, you're like, oh, okay. But when you say it, you're like, wow, that's unreal. And so now you have AJ Hinch returning, where a good friend of mine, Chris Castellani, good guy, does a lot of stuff with like Tigers, and he's just a very well-known sports personality up there in Detroit, born and bred, and he loves the Astros. He loves that. Astros fans are always knocking on his door, like digitally, and he's got great takes. But he talked about how there were a lot of people that weren't a big fan of AJ Hinch when they first hired him because it was coming off of the suspension, it was coming out of the controversy.
Yeah.
And he was one of the few people in Detroit that said, I really like this hire. And he's like, I like what AJ Hinch brings. And look, once I believe it was Riley and who were the two guys that came off the IL for the Tigers? They came off and they were like, AJ Hinch is like, we got our offense back. We're going to roll. And these guys came back in. I'll look them up because I forgot their names. I'm not knee deep in Tigers baseball, but he said since those offensive players came back, the Tigers have been a really good team.
Yeah.
What do you make of this coming together of, student and learner are now competing against each other in the playoffs?
Well, the crazy thing is, you're talking about two organizations are in different places in their history. The Astros,
that's true.
We were early in the season, we were wondering if the golden age of Astros baseball was over, if the run was over. And, it's taken some time, but this Tigers team has played pretty good baseball over the last couple of years. Now, not necessarily playoff baseball, but they've been young, they've been talented. And AJ Hinch has a lot to do with that, just like AJ Hinch had a lot to do with the beginning of this run, going all the way back to 14 and 15. So, AJ is a very intelligent man. He knows what he's doing. He has learned from both the trials and tribulations in his career. And yeah, it's taken some time for them to kind of get all their ducks in a row, but this is a good baseball team that's playing well, and AJ has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Okay. So it was Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson.
There you go.
I knew it was Riley. I just could not. I wasn't for sure it was Torque, and I looked up his stats, and he disappeared in June and July, came back, and since they've been back, and you have a guy that has the experience, that has been to the World Series, so he's kind of the coach that you would want in the clubhouse, because he knows how to prepare these guys. And that's one of the things.
But you could say the same thing about Joe. He just hasn't been in the managerial position, but he's, he went through the whole run.
That's true.
And, so it's Joe has done, I think Joe has done a remarkable job this year. Okay. Especially in the beginning, because there were a lot of questions. There was at one point we're hearing rumors that Joe has lost the clubhouse. But what do you mean Joe has lost the clubhouse? Joe's one of the most liked guys in that clubhouse and has been for years and years and years. But you know what? If you're stinking up the field, you shouldn't have a good clubhouse. Everyone should be ticked off.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how things were. And then once they started righting the ship and started playing higher quality baseball and getting a few hits with runners in scoring position, now all of a sudden Joe was the same all the time, and that's what you're looking for from a manager. I mean, one of the things he was early in the season, he stayed remarkably positive. 12 games under 500 twice, and he was still saying, "Hey, these guys are doing fine. We're not where we want to be, but we're just going to keep grinding it out, keep getting our work in. Things will change," and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so at the end of the day, it comes down to the players on the field.
Always.
I mean, it comes down to the players. That there is kind of a external factor, at times with the mindset, but the manager is a manager. He doesn't play. He doesn't go out there and throw the pitches. It comes down to execution, comes down to game plan. It comes down to, I think the Astros, this is where they're at. They know who they are. They know what they can do, and they're going to approach this game like they do any other game. Their goal is to win. They're not going to be awed by the stage. They're not going to be, they're not going to shy away from the bright lights. Well, actually, wait, there are no bright lights. Why? Because Houston gets the 1:30 game, all 3 games. What in the heck, New York? Why can't you?
Always.
I know we're a wild card. Okay. So this year makes sense. But even when we were the top seed, let the Astros play at 2 a.m. in the morning when nobody's up. Or it's like, come on, man. Like, what the heck? We can't get some love. I understand it now, but you know what? The Astros, I think, play fine, whether it's daytime or nighttime. They got a 60% winning percentage in the playoffs, Mike. 97 wins since, I believe, 2014 in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, listen. It's the schedule is the schedule. There's not anything you can do about it. The East Coast teams, the big market teams, they're going to always get them and the Dodgers. They're going to always get the primetime spot because they want those ratings, which is fine. It doesn't matter. Win your baseball games. You do what you're supposed to do. You'll be one of 2 teams playing here in a few weeks, and then you get primetime all the time. So. That's one of the things you just can't really concern yourself with. You go out and you play whatever game they put you in. So I understand what you're saying, and it does seem, but some of that also has to do with the up and coming Tigers are the opponents. If the Astros were playing. One of the bigger teams on one of the coasts, they probably would be playing primetime. So, it's just one of those things that you can't fret over because there's nothing you can do.
I forgot my mom reminded me. She said, "Be nice, H-Town. Don't forget I was born and raised in New York." I do remember that. she's an OG from New York. So
there you go.
But yeah, Mike, I'm looking forward to this series. Like you said, it's a quick series. I mean, after game 1, you're either one game away from being sent home and you're one game away from moving on. There's no room for error in this first round.
No, there is not. And it's not like a regular – well, you play 3-game series all the time. But, yes, the season's not over when you lose a series in the regular season. So, yeah, these 3-game series go very, very quickly. And that's why game 1 is so important because you are fighting for your life in game 2 of the playoffs if you lose game 1.
Exactly. No, this is look. I look forward to it. And Mike, we'll come back this week.
Oh yes,
sometime, and we're not just going to talk Astros. We're going to talk the other series. We got some other intriguing matchups in this early round, and. Games are being played all over the place. I don't know if you know this. We'll close with this. Do you know who the main announcer for the Astros Wildcard series is on ABC?
I have not seen, no.
Michael Kay, the Yankees.
Is it really?
And I've heard a rumor
that good friend of mine, Michael Kay.
Yeah, he's not thrilled, but hey, he's getting paid and he's got a contract. So
that's right. That's right.
But Michael Kay, to his credit, has always said the one team I don't want to face in the playoffs, the Houston Astros.
He has always respected the Astros. Regardless of what happened or didn't happen in the past, he understands what's happened recently, and the Astros have always had the Yankees number. And Michael Kay has been behind the mic for all of those. So
Wow.
he has had a firsthand experience of how good the Astros can be.
Well, hey, maybe we can well, I know he's busy during the playoffs. It'd be kind of neat to talk to him if the Astros and Yankees meet up in the ALCS.
It would be, but Michael Kay probably works harder than probably you and I put together.
Wow.
Because he does radio every day than he does. You want to talk about burn the candle at both ends.
Awesome. Well, hey, man, I love it. Mike, thanks for stopping in. This is another great show. Like I said, make sure y'all stay tuned into us. We'll get you covered on all the playoff series, and we'll give you expert analysis from this guy, Mike, right here. He knows what he's talking about. Not just pitching. He understands the hitting part of it. And look, I'm here to add flair in the good looks.
That's it. By the way, where did you get your haircut?
From State of the Art Barbershop. That's where I got it from. My guy, Ever Cruz.
There you go.
Check him out at 1616 South Friendswood Drive. Make sure you do that. And then the little QR code, go to Ram Shirts. We're going to come to you live from the Ram Shirts studios every time we record. That QR code gets you a Back to the Bullpen shirt like Mike is wearing.
There it is.
Also, they've got some Houston is Inevitable shirts, some really cool shirts. They will have stuff, new stuff coming up. So just make sure you check out Ram Shirts. Tell Mark that we sent you. And for myself and everybody here at Back to the Bullpen.
Oh, you got it right.
We will see you in a couple days talking about an Astros victory.
There you go. Adios, folks.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk your back, looking